The finale to Industry Season 4 is finally here, and after witnessing the beginning of the collapse of Tinder in the penultimate episode, this final installment felt like it was all about the different directions, decisions, and pathways that the main characters were going to go down following all of the damaging information being revealed. We had Henry facing the brunt of it and needing to decide whether or not he was going to go with Whitney into hiding or finally stand up for himself, Harper coming to the decision on whether or not she'd be out of the game for good. We had the rise of the far right in the political landscape with Stefan, and Yas losing all of her integrity and moral values in order to have a chance of being successful. So with that, let's take a look at the ending to the season, break it down, look at that blink and you'll miss it moment before the credits, and answer what it all truly means. Here is Industry Season 4 Episode 8, Ending Explained. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. Yasmin. Within my mind, I very much feel like this finale felt like it was all about Yas, and it showed the direction that her life had gone in and how the aftermath of Tinder had actually changed her for the worse. With the rise of reform in the UK and with the Labour Party in the mud following its association with Tinder, Stefan was looking to improve his image, and Yas came forward and was prepared to help Stefan's perception in the political landscape be something that could be polished. This is why the dinner in Paris was also taking place and why Yas invited Harper there. In the previous episode, we saw that Yas and Harper were saying to each other that they'd always look out for one another and be the protectors, but in this episode, we saw Yas doing the complete opposite. Yas was actually taking advantage of Harper and simply wanted her to be a donator to Stefan's cause. Yas didn't care about the fact that she placed Harper in between two far-right extremists in Moritz and his mother, and when she said to Harper, "You're not like the others, are you?" which was just an outright racist comment. That was where Harper truly realized that Yas was no longer the person that she knew anymore. She'd become this extended version of Whitney and had learned all of the negatives that he had that allowed him to be at the top. We also saw that being present with Haley and the girls that they'd hired for Stefan's dinner. That was a tactic straight out of Whitney's handbook, where there were escorts that were hired in order to keep the men happy, no matter who they were or what their background was. She viewed herself as a provider of opportunities, despite the fact that she was exploiting those around her. Plus, she also planned on filming the intimate moments so that she could have leverage over the people that were in the room at any point in the future. I think this change in behaviour comes from the fact that she was always made to feel inferior whilst inside of Tinder, and also within her marriage to Henry too. So by coming out the other side, we were now seeing a complete mindset shift, and she saw a route in which she'd be able to gain power and respect and no longer be overlooked and undermined. As she said herself, she now feels important, necessary, and new, and they were all of the things that she never felt in her marriage to Henry. She never felt important, and she didn't feel necessary. Yas siding with Stefan is something that also shows the direction that her character will most likely go in during the next season of the show. There was a song that had the lyrics, "Get thee behind me, Satan," and as it said Satan, it cut to Stefan. Paired with the type of people that he had at his table during his dinner party, I think it's clear to see that the villainous side and his dark viewpoints show that Yas has quite literally made a deal with the devil here. The final thing that we saw with Yas was when she was on her own and she was listening to the voicemail that her father had left her before he died. This showed that there was a sense of mourning that was present, but also that she'd drifted so far from what her original beliefs were, and now she was waiving her moral values and beliefs all for a bit of power and money. If she's prepared to allow the girl that was with Eric to sit in the room full of all of those old men, I think we've truly lost Yasmin now. It's going to be a dark season 5. Henry. When it came to Henry, following the article being released, he was well and truly in the mud. Then, to add to it, we also saw that Yasmin was leaving him and wanted a divorce. He was still deeply in love with her, and when he said, "Did you ever love me?" after she said that she didn't anymore, it just showed how his own insecurities and paranoia was what caused the relationship to collapse. He was always questioning her love, and in the end, by not just believing in it, it caused the flame to burn out, and Yas simply couldn't handle being with him anymore. Henry got intel from Jen that Tinder could have actually been a front and a proxy for Russian intelligence, where there was data mining taking place, money laundering for covert operations, and the placing of people inside of industries, and Henry was tempted to poke that bear so that he could expose it for what it truly was. After he left Whitney for dust on the plane after having respect for himself and not being the asset and the disposable blame piece for Whitney, Henry eventually came to the realization that by trying to expose Tender and Russian's connection, it could cause Henry to end up in a situation where he gets killed and made to look like an accident. This is what Lord Mostyn told Henry, especially due to the person that he knew that had similar mental health struggles like Henry. This is why at the press conference after Henry pleaded guilty, there was a moment of pause when it tried to make us question if he was going to reveal to the press any of the information that he had. But all he said was, Whitney was the only person responsible. It starts and ends with him. Henry picked the correct side in terms of his safety, but with the final shot of Henry being sat on a boat fishing with his uncle, back on the pills and back on the booze, fresh from another failed venture. Is that really the best quality of life for him, drinking his days away? All of the progress that he made in being clean was for nothing, and now, under house arrest, he's got the estate to act like his playground where he can simply just do what he wants. I thought it was a dark ending for Henry, and one that showed that no matter how hard the man tries to achieve something or to better himself, he just can't seem to get over the line. Harper. Now, I started this season not really being Harper's biggest fan, but when those credits started rolling and with it closing out with her, my opinion on her had fully changed. With the expose piece on Tender causing their price to drop in the market by around 80%, with the money that she got for it, she split it 3 ways, $2 million to her, $2 million to Sweet Pea, and $2 million to Kwabena. But as we saw, that wasn't really doing much for her in her mind. There was this emptiness that seemed to have taken a hold of her, and even though she got the success that she was striving for, the fact that Eric wasn't there with her and was causing her to feel alone was something that was just plaguing her mind. This was something that they'd started together, and she didn't enjoy seeing it through by herself. Obviously, at this time, she didn't know about the video that she was eventually shown by Yaz, but what it tied into in her mind was the emptiness and the lack of connection that she had with people in her life. Harper splitting the money equally is an act that showed that the character had fully changed. There was a part of me that thought that she was going to toss them to the side in pursuit of her own success, but she never did, so it showed growth within the character. When Harper was at the dinner, we saw that she actually stood up to Yaz in the room full of people, lost respect for her because she placed her next to 2 far-right extremists. And with Yaz not taking Harper's hand and leaving with her, it showed that the 2 characters were now on the opposite sides of the spectrum. Harper was prepared to help others, and Yaz was going to use others. The final scene in the episode was Harper being interviewed on a plane by Patrick, and he asked if she ever felt alone when she was so right about Tender whilst everybody else was so wrong. And with Harper and Kwabena looking at each other and smiling, it showed that she wasn't truly alone because she did this with the people that she did actually care about and actually cared about her too. There was a question that the flight attendant asked her at the end of the episode before it cut to black, and it was, "Are you done? With your gin and tonic, are you done?" This felt like it was symbolic of the broader question on if she's out of the game or not, or if she's going to be diving back in for more and looking for another target. Personally, I don't think Harper is going to be out of the game. Like Yaz, she now feels important, necessary, and new. And even though the work she's doing is for her own gain, she's not crossing the moral lines and boundaries like Yaz is in order to do so. So I think we'll continue to see her doing her work in Season 5. My review of the episode. I thought this was a great finale of the season. I don't know if you noticed, but the industry logo didn't appear until the end of the episode, and I loved the way that it did that. It felt like it marked the end of the chapter, and there was almost a poetic nature to it. The blink and you'll miss it moment of Whitney as well was something that felt like it was insinuating that he was still out there in the shadows trying to find a way to survive. I'd love to see him come back in some way, but I just don't know if it would be feasible. Hearing an article about him potentially dying could be a good way for the character to wrap up in Season 5 of the show. In terms of the performances in this episode, Harper, Henry, and Yaz absolutely stole it. Even Haley did a great job in this one too, and I can't stand Haley, so when she stood up to Harper, I almost wanted Harper to put her in a place. The emotional range from all of those characters offered so much, and a moment that really got me was when Yaz told Henry that she didn't love him anymore. The song No Other Love by Joe Stafford was playing underneath this scene, and it just really encapsulated that feeling of emptiness, the mourning of a relationship, and the feeling of the spark just dying. I actually thought it was quite sad watching them break up because we saw a healed Henry and Yaz at the end of episode 2 where it seemed like they were going to have a future together, but here it was just disintegrating. Another element of the episode that I thought was great was the focus on Sebastian. There was just this villainous nature that he had, and I feel Industry is going to go even more political in the next season of the show. With the rise of the right in the show and the extreme far right also being involved, it could paint a hostile backdrop when the show returns. The score in this episode, when we saw that Tender was being audited, was a piano piece that really had the essence of Succession at its core. That, paired with the handheld camera movements that were littered throughout this season and the fast-whipping nature of them, really allowed it to achieve a similar feel to that. Overall, I think this has been a really good season for Industry. Episodes 2 to 5 did feel a bit isolated, but after that, when the story started blending together again, the tone was truly established. The drama was rising to the surface, and the character performances were just great. We may never know what happened to Whitney, but I think that's the beauty of the character and the story. He's just going to be a mystery that lives on in the show now. We know for a fact that Season 5 has been commissioned and it's going to be the final season of the show, so I'm excited to see how it's going to wrap up when it does eventually return. So, there you have it, Industry Season 4 Episode 8, Ending Explained. If you want to see more videos on Industry Season 4, then check the playlist below, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future videos. What did you think of this episode? Share your thoughts in the comments. As always, thanks for tuning into the video and I'll see you in the next one.